cosmic law. And the other thing is we're approaching a thing called the nexus, which is a precision of the equinox, as I mentioned earlier. As our galaxy rotates through the galactic plane, we're actually approaching a protein energy ion field that actually, this proton ion field actually is a rent in the space-time continuum that occurred with an ancient war. And so we're actually approaching this same point in space-time, and we're asked the same questions, which is exactly why the Mayans talked about a circular calendar. Because they said if you knew the past, the ancient past, you could also predict the future. Because in my view, our universe, when you look forward, you're looking into the ancient past.
Dr. Deagle, if we're going to have all these cataclysms coming up, where a tremendous devastation is going to take place, most of the people in the world are going to die, why is the New World Order going through the meticulous process of creating the North American Union, the Central American Union, South American Union, the Asian Union, the African Union, European Union? Why? That's not going to be necessary. Why are they doing this?
They're doing it for several reasons. You'll notice that if you look at the treaties for the seas, they're moving in inland waterways in most of the major continents. Okay. For example, the Three Gorges Dam in China, the whole construction project was taken over by the Carlyle Group under orders of the Queen and the Jesuits. And a year and a half ago, they actually took over all of the construction of the largest construction company on Earth, which is in China. 80% of the concrete on Earth is now used in building these dragon cities along the Chinese coast. Their whole idea is that they're building central transportation routes because they know the coastal areas are going to hit by super tsunamis. They know that there are going to be global earth changes where the continents are going to completely change. Good parts of California will disappear and there'll be a chain of islands. They know that the tsunami will hit the west coast of America with the passage of Nibiru, and this tsunami will be at Mach 1, traveling at 740 miles an hour all the way to the west slope of the Rockies. They know the east coast is going to be hit with the Cumbra Viejo super tsunami that will be 300 meters high, traveling at 540 miles an hour. And this is not speculation. If you have a major geotectonic event, such as the movement of a hypergravitational object, whether it's 5, 10, or 500 years from now, it will result in it. The same way as the blowing up of the super caldera in Wyoming will result in a global winter that will last from 3 to 5 years minimum. And extinction of most of the species on Earth except for those who have water and food and other ways of survival. So we're facing a cataclysm, but they're planning on having remnants of population survive in the center of continents because they figure they can have that plus their underground cities. There's over 1,500 cities. The city, for example, between Conifer and I-70 can house almost 18,000 people underground for a minimum of 7 years plus, with nuclear reactors, hydroponics, hospitals, and even shopping. They're quite capable of these cities. The ones in Russia, they built multiple cities that are fairly large with manufacturing facilities, etc. They can house 250,000 people in each city under the central Ural Mountains. So they're all prepared. They have the same thing in Korea and China and elsewhere for the coming global cataclysms. And they don't want to tell the populations because 80% of the population of Earth lives within 100 miles of the coast, which I think is a criminal activity on the parts of global governments not warning people that these events are coming. Super storms, tornadoes like the one that hit London today, all of these are an example of the gutless activity of our world leaders who should not be ruling. And the reason is because they will not speak the truth. And that goes with my medical profession, who are a strong leg of the New World Disorder with their medical procedures, their chips, their vaccines. They will be the Dr. Mengelas of the Fourth Reich.
The hierarchies of power within the New World Order, we have the Jesuits, the Rothschilds, the British royal family, some of the royal families of Europe.
Right.
But you've hinted that there are some ETs or interdimensional beings that direct these people or control these people?
I'll explain it. Down through all civilizations in history, all civilizations, where you call them the term Masons or you call them these sacred high priests, whether it's ancient Lemuria, Atlantis, or other civilizations from Samaria, Egypt, all of these ancient civilizations did a process which is similar to mind controlling that they used at Guantanamo Bay and Gitmo and elsewhere. They created what's called a split in the personality and altars. They're using Reichian programming that's used to actually create a new altar or a sub-personality that can be inhabited by an astral entity. Human beings can only arise to the 180th degree within Mason. The word human actually means serpent man, meaning indwelt by an astral entity. All medical schools, all higher university educational institutions in all countries done through all history have been inhabited by these beings because it's part of the process of getting higher levels within any secret fraternity or order, whether you're a lawyer, a judge, or a politician, or a corporate president. For example, when people make the mistake saying they see beings shapeshift, they're actually just seeing with their spirit eyes, which they do have, they're seeing the hyperdimensional entities, which may be reptilian in shape, but they're actually not looking at a shape-shifting, which violates the laws of thermodynamics because it explodes with heat. They're actually seeing that those families have had lineal passage of sex and blood sacrifices down through their families through history, like Hillary Clinton, whose family has been one of the leading Luciferian evil families in American history, the Ruddams. That's why they're so intimately tied with this. So if you look at all these families down through history, what you're looking at is you're looking at a human flesh husk that is surrounding a bioplasmatic astral entity which is guiding that just like a controlled object. So the higher levels of Masonry above the 180th degree are all non-human. So the 360th degree. So if you understand that that has been the nature of all human history, not just some of it, then you start to get a grasp on how we have been very, very Earth-centric and not realizing we're in not only a galaxy and a cosmos, but we're dealing with many dimensions beyond the third and fourth. And we're dealing with a very vast universe. And we're dealing with physics and laws that the level of ignorance of our populations has been purposeful, because if you don't know what you are, as I always say, if we knew what we were, we would not do what we do. The problem comes that we do not know what we are, therefore they're in control. And they hide the very nature of reality, that we are the masters of our fate, because we are the 1,000 points of light, not them. We are made in the image of the Most High God. We are literally the rulers of this universe, but we have had our identity hidden. We have been in a state of unconsciousness, and we've had it taken away by religion, who have always substituted a formula for a pathway. And there is, as Yeshua HaMashiach said, that your religion, your traditions nullify the way. Which is why the first 3 centuries, the Greek Orthodox, who understood correctly, knew that Jesus was not God. He was becoming fused to become a God. And that he was on the pathway, so what he was teaching, and he was called the teacher of the way. He was not called the Christ. All of these things were created later by the Luciferian Catholic Church that wanted to turn into a Babylonian myth, including the virgin birth, so that they could manipulate the population and control them so they wouldn't realize that Jesus himself said, when I return you shall do even greater things, for you shall be exactly as I am, not different. That's the real gospel. Okay? 3-minute break and then it's part 3. How's that?